The panel are going to discuss energy deals, investment trends, and 2022 forecasts. The subject matter will be covering M&A transactions and the potential for the future, what the IPO market is looking like, and what are the key drivers behind deals in Turkey. And we heard from a number of panels yesterday that activities are starting to gather pace again. So we hope our panel will give us some good news on that going forward. I'm going to hand over to İtİ Çiftçi, who's the moderator for this panel. Çiftçi are one of our gold sponsors, along with Clifford Chance. So we thank them for their sponsorship, and hope that will continue. So I just had to put that little plug in for Çiftçi partnership. Anyway, I'm handing over to İtİ now, and have a good session, and we'll be back soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining this session today. My name is İtİ Çiftçi, and I'm the managing partner and the head of M&A practice at Çiftçi Clifford Chance Istanbul. I will be hosting this session today, where we will cover energy deals for this year, investment trends, and what we expect during the following years, and the forecast. I'm honored to present three distinguished speakers who are with us today to share their observations and views in this session. Let me briefly introduce our panelists here. We have Mr. Abdullah Çerekçi with us. He is the head of strategy and business development in Zorlu Holding and the chairman of Akbank Investments Business Council, BNP. He is leading the M&A activities of Zorlu Holding and group companies in energy, retail, infrastructure, technology, and he has more than 15 years of experience in the sector, worked at business development and strategy development departments of various prominent groups. We also have Mr. Mehmet Ali Deniz with us. He has been the chief strategy officer of Global Investment Holding since 2014, and he's responsible from the group's global M&A and capital markets transactions. He also led the successful IPO of Naturalgaz on Borsa Istanbul recently. He has taken a lead role in expanding the holding's businesses in renewable energy, ports, mining, as well as leading various capital markets, privatization, and M&A projects in Turkey, North Africa, and Eastern Europe. We also have Mr. Onur Mustafaoğlu with us. He is the director of energy investments at Istanbul Portföy, and an energy professional with more than 15 years of local and international experience, focusing on business and project development, investment strategies, private equity investment funds, M&A financing, refinancing on renewables. We have worked together on several deals with him. He's also a general partner and investment committee member of several private equity funds. So before we start, let me explain how you can talk to us during the webinar. If you have any questions during the presentation, you can write them to the chat, and we will try to attend those as much as possible if time permits. We'll start with the questions now. Abdullah Bey, the guiding principles of the Turkish energy policy continue to be market reform and energy security. The rapid economic and population growth, they have driven a strong growth in the energy demand, but also an associated increase in import dependency. Zorlu Group is an important player of the market, and you are closely observing the recent developments. Can you please provide some insight around what you see in the market, and what do you see as new investment trends, and do you expect any major changes based on new YEKDEM scheme?
Thank you very much, İtİ Hanım. I'm very much honored to be actually presenting my view here today. As you know, Zorlu Group's one of the key sectors is energy. We are very active in generation as well as distribution and all aspects of energy value chain, including gas distribution as well. when I look at what happened recently in energy market, maybe we can cover from 2020 and this year. Couple of things actually impacted. Obviously, a change in the supporting mechanism, YEKDEM, is one of the most critical moments, events in the sector. Let me briefly start with what happened. What was the advantage of the old scheme and how this support mechanism helped the renewable generation capacity in Turkey. Just to remember, 10 years back, when we look at the power generation industry in Turkey, it's heavily dependent on the fuel, imported fuel, and the only renewables were the hydros, and it was making around 30% of the installed capacity, and there was no wind or solar at that moment. Obviously, the technology was not very common, but within the 10 years time frame, when we come to end of 2020, actually, what we are seeing is it's more installed capacity in renewables than the other source of energy. So basically, it came first with wind, and then recently with solar. There's a huge capacity change. The beauty was actually in this old YEKDEM scheme was it was almost a non-recourse structure. The asset itself was covering the whole risk of the business, including even the hard currency risk, as you all know. The financing was easier and cheaper, I can say. And all of the investors, including small investors, were very much interested, and there were significant foreign investors as well in the generation side. What happened last couple of years? There were debate on the YEKDEM structure, new YEKDEM structure, and it was announced in January, as you all know. I don't want to go into details. I think everybody following us is aware of what has changed, but the pricing mechanism is different now. What it says is basically there is more uncertainty and risk associated with the pricing. So this means in terms of financing, we as investors should be focusing more on equity side. I think maybe the IPO discussion, you can also address this part. So equity requirement of energy industry is more than before. So financing is going to be more difficult. We have to be allocating more equity in our new investments in the coming years. Obviously, the pricing is a little bit difficult than previous structure. So this one we should be, of course, following up in the coming years as one of the changes in the market. So what kind of impact if we go back to the general trends of the last year and this year in M&A markets? We see small size renewable acquisitions mainly. The most sizable one was, I think, our deal, which we sold our wind farm in Osmaniye to Akfen Group. So that was the one of the sizable ones. Apart from these small size deals, there were mainly consolidation in the distribution side, especially in gas distribution. So existing players were buying some other players. So we can say Palmet, NG, Ağlaç acquired Enerya. So there were some acquisitions. And we also observed some foreign investors actually exiting their Turkish assets due to a couple of reasons, I guess. But the most important reason was there is a huge transition in the global energy sector. These companies, global energy companies, are exiting basically from their, again, fuel-based generation to mainly fossil-based generation to mainly renewables. So they are really making hard decisions and quick decisions. We saw that in ENGIE's couple of, for example, transactions deals in recent deals. So one reason was that, and the second one is, I think, still about the shareholder return. I mean, they probably are not foreseeing higher return on investment in some of these assets. So we observed those exits actually in the M&A side. And then I think there is one more trend which we can see in the coming years. I think in global is companies are looking more on ESG part. So it's going to be one of the key elements of most of the M&A transactions at the moment. So I have some statistics. Companies are looking more in ESG due diligence nowadays. Maybe 80%, 90% of the transactions in energy, especially in energy, ESG is playing a critical role because investors believe there will be more return, one part, and they want to be also they want to see the impact of this deal to their environmental, social, and governance strategy. So they want to make sure the asset is a right asset. So ESG is playing a critical role, and I think it will play more critical role in the coming days. So I think this is one of the trends which we already observed globally, also in Turkey, and it's going to be a mainstream, maybe critical due diligence and M&A factor in the coming years. It's basically the investors are seeing that the market is also giving this appreciation to these ESG compliant companies. You have various statistics. MSI Global Environment Index is trading better than the other indices, as you know. There are, from the investment shareholder return perspective, it's higher. There are various statistics, again, academic studies showing that there's a positive relation between ESG and the shareholder return or financial results. So basically, ESG funds are also outperforming the market's median or average. So these are good news. Obviously, the social impact with the COVID become a more priority, and companies are following this, and energy companies are in this transition, and they're actually accelerating this transition at the moment. So there will be more deals going around this basic strategy, transforming their energy portfolio, and ESG is going to be a key player. This is pretty much about what I have seen. I can comment on what we will see maybe in the local market as M&A, maybe one more minute. I'm seeing a couple of things in renewable portfolio side. As the new YEKDEM is less attractive. I think all the YEKDEM, the companies which owns assets, good assets, production generation assets, where there is a good life of guaranteed YEKDEM, 8 years, 7 years, the recent investments will be targets, I guess, for some of the groups who are not, fully transformed their portfolio to renewable. This is something which I expect in the coming years because of the old YEKDEM's advantage. And we can see also further consolidation in the distribution side. I mainly expect this in the distribution and electricity and gas distribution. So these are the two things going forward, which I expect.
Perhaps we can expand in the second round after we cover your discussions. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So Mehmet Ali Bey, on to you now. I mean, the market demonstrated substantial growth in the last 2 decades. And this is based on high level of collaboration between the regulators and the investors. And Turkey's installed capacity has increased, more than threefolds. But given the recent developments in the market and the discussions that Abdullah Bey made about, IPOs, financing not being really fully available as it was before, how do you see the new trends? How do you see the new trends in the market? You have been personally involved in several IPOs of energy companies. So your views around those would be really appreciated for the audience.
Okay, thank you very much. If I may add to what Abdullah Bey mentioned regarding the recent developments in the market, I fully agree with the observations that he has made. And if I may contribute a little bit on some of the other ones, I think, as he said, the transactions are more and more happening among Turkish companies. And when there is a transaction in which a foreign company is involved, it's unfortunately on the sell side. It's not only at the energy generation side, but when we're looking at other parts of the energy sector, we're seeing deals of small and big or medium size, where small investors, foreign investors have been buyers, are selling their stakes in the Turkish energy companies. Of course, this is a development which is negatively affecting the depth of the market for Turkey. Another factor that we're seeing in Turkey is Turkish companies willing to invest outside of Turkey, and we are one of those. Although all of these may not be through M&As, this can be through development of projects or acquiring developed projects outside of Turkey. For example, I know that Turkish companies are looking to investments around Turkey, like in markets like Greece, Bulgaria, Italy, and some other markets. Although there are almost no PPAs in those markets from the governments, there are still substantial transactions that could be done with distribution companies, and I know that a lot of Turkish companies are looking into those, including ourselves. And one more important factor that we saw was the recent surge in the capital markets activities of the energy companies. So, if I may just briefly touch upon those activities, I checked the IPOs in the past 1.5 years, and there were 29 IPOs since the beginning of 2020, and out of those, 6 were involving energy companies, including Naturalgaz, which is one of our group companies. And out of the 12.1 billion Turkish liras of total IPO activity, about 5.2 was from energy companies. So about 40% of the IPOs came from the energy side. We also need to include the capital increases of the already floating companies. They also made, of course, substantial capital increases. So in the absence of or in the scarcity of debt capital markets or debt, and where the foreign buyers had little or almost no interest into the market, except for one company, I must say, in geothermal. The only savior of the day was the capital markets for the Turkish energy investors.
Do you think that the enthusiasm will continue because of the unavailability of financing?
I mean, the owners of energy assets are willing to do that, including ourselves, because we have recently announced that we are going to take our renewable and energy efficiency portfolio on to the stock markets. But I think the enthusiasm of the retail investors is fading away. We can also see that from the number of investors who are participating to the IPOs. In the Naturalgaz IPO, we had 775,000 investors, retail investors, applying to buy shares, and the allocation versus demand ratio was 1%. But in the recent IPOs, unfortunately, we don't see that kind of demand, and So two of the three largest IPOs was in fact in the energy space. One of them was Başkent Gaz, and the other one was Aydem. And we didn't, unfortunately, although of course they were big IPOs. One of them was 1.3 billion Turkish liras, and the other one was 1.7 billion. That enthusiasm did not continue. Also due to other factors, such as oversupply of IPOs in recent months, and also we saw some rich valuations in some of the IPOs as well. So I think we will see some cooling in the next couple of months, and depending on developments, of course, people will still try to come to the market.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think there are other questions that I have for you for the second round, but hopefully with more positive messages in terms of investment environment in Turkey. On to you, Onur Bey. Of course, energy consumption in Turkey is growing faster than European countries. Mainly based on increasing population, faster economic growth, and the need we have. And the current market, I believe, is still promising, and there are still many unexploited opportunities that we can offer to investors in Turkey. However, growth is still challenging due to a combination of internal and external factors. And you have been advising various local and international investors in the energy market, both in Turkey and abroad. And based on this broad experience, I wanted to ask you how you would compare the investment environment opportunities in the Turkish energy market versus other countries.
Okay, thank you very much, Itir Hanım. First of all, I am also very much honored to be part of this fruitful event today. I hope we can provide a transparent view of the markets to the audience today. So when we need to compare two markets like European market and Turkish market, I would love to start with actually the positive side, which is in favor of Turkey. So actually, obviously, it's a risk and return equation, but Turkey is these days, our renewable market in Turkey, I would say, is offering double-digit returns to investors and in return of a high risk in the country. While European renewable investments in Europe is offering mostly single-digit returns, and in the absence of a support mechanism like feed-in tariffs. So this makes Turkey is a advantageous country when it comes to comparison of the returns. However, when we consider the other aspects of a renewable energy investment, for example, the currencies. So there is, unfortunately, from this point forward, with the new support mechanism, as Abdullah Bey mentioned, is Turkish lira denominated. So this brings a mismatch between the currencies in the capex and the income. So investors in Turkey has to carry foreign currency risk while they're investing, which is not the case in European renewable energy markets. So this is one important aspect, along with the cost and ease of financing, which is also a reflection of such mismatch in the currencies. It's easier and cheaper in European markets for the renewable energy market, for the renewable investments, while Turkey has just started to see the difficulties in terms of financing, ease, and also the cost of financing. So as Abdullah Bey mentioned, I am personally expecting equity incentive investments, and companies who are strong in terms of equity will be more active in the renewable energy investments in Turkey, which I would like to touch that part during the second round of my discussion. And other than that, European market offers free development space for the investors, as there is no support mechanism in most of the countries except Greece and maybe a little bit of Hungary. You can develop projects wherever you like, whenever you like, and you can apply for licenses, and you can actually invest. while Turkey, even with this new support scheme, you have to go through a tender process. So you have to wait for the announcements by the government. Therefore, the pipeline of the projects are somehow repressed due to that tender process expectations. But as I said, there are significant upsides as well for Turkish investment market. One of them is, as you mentioned, the high growth expectations in Turkey. The second one is expected decrease in the reserve margins. So as the population grows, the demand side grows. Even though we saw relatively high growth in the supply side of Turkey, of Turkish renewable market, it was mostly the reflection of the deadline of the existing feed-in tariff scheme in foreign currency denomination. So from this point forward, I think the reserve margins in Turkey will be decreasing, which will signal an investment opportunity for the investors who are interested to invest in Turkey. And then third one is actually the globally increasing natural gas pricing. So Turkey today, the electricity pricing in the market, in the merchant market, is almost the half of the European market. So prices are suppressed here in Turkey, and by the increasing natural gas prices, there are different aspects. There are different things that impacts that, obviously. But other than that, we can naturally expect an increase in the electricity pricing in Turkey starting from Q3 2021. So this will make the existing investments more valuable. The pricings go up. And the last point that I would like to mention is the carbon emission offsetting. There is no carbon market in Turkey yet, which is structured. So after the Green Deal in Europe and carbon print offsetting, if we can somehow establish all these markets, I'm sure that it will positively affect the renewable energy investments in Turkey.
Thank you very much, Onur Bey. Very, very helpful. Thank you. So following on that, Abdullah Bey, back to you. We have seen considerable diversification in the energy mix in Turkey in the past decade. There is a significant growth of renewable energy generation. And as Onur Bey stated, Turkey's longer-term decarbonization efforts, these all have an impact in the market. And as you have mentioned in the first round of questions, we have the ESG and sustainability concerns globally and in Turkey. Based on all these, what do you see as exciting opportunities for buyers and sellers in the market? And perhaps you can touch upon, your group's activities as well, but we would like to hear from you based on these recent developments and decarbonization, ESG, renewables, and the mixture and the need that we have. What do you see as exciting opportunities?
So thank you again. I think there were very good comments from Onur Bey and Mehmet Ali Bey about the structure of the market and I think the equity market. Very quick answer first about the current structure. If you look at the generation market, it's basically very fragmented. It's the nature of obviously renewable generation. There are various projects, a lot of small players. So I think there is a huge potential here to create some synergies if you want to become a significant player, because smaller players by themselves, there's a potential to grow on that segment. But if you don't become a big player, it's difficult to make JVs or expand your portfolio to other markets. So I think there is one dilemma here. Small players have a difficulty on that side. So I think either you have to be exceeding a significant size to invite some other players or some big players on the global markets to invest also bigger projects. So that's one thing which I can observe in the energy market at the moment. So I think there are from that angle, I think for existing players, there's a good opportunity to look at existing projects, which Onur Bey already mentioned, with the increasing prices in the coming years and quarters may be more attractive. And also YEKDEM feed-in tariff, old feed-in tariff supporting projects. So I think there is a good potential to be a kind of a consolidation in that area. But for the groups which own already a sizable portfolio like Zorlu Enerji, I think from now on, the strategy is to focus where you are differentiating from the other players. For example, I mean, we are heavily focused on, renewable. Our 100% generation is coming from renewable assets. We are very much extended our competency in geothermal, and it's for our core business, and I think we will be growing in that direction. So for the sizable groups, everybody has to look at their differentiating competencies, and I think focus on that part. Also, as a responsible player, I mean, most of the bigger groups playing more important role in the market in terms of environmental, social, friendly investments. We are already a renewable portfolio group, but we are not keeping ourselves here. We would like to be also in the whole energy transition from again fossil to electricity. I mean the renewables in the area of electric vehicles, storage systems, and all those new energy systems. That's called that way. We are active out there as a group. First of all, Zorlu Holding in the TOG shareholding, as you know, the national car project, which is an electric car, and also we are investing into infrastructure of electric vehicles with our company called ZES, which is in Turkey at the moment with charging stations, but we are willing to expand into Europe and other regions. So basically, for us, coming back to your question, what Zorlu Group expects or willing to invest in, I think we are focusing on our core competency, and we are looking for new areas of energy transition like electric vehicles, because I think we can play a very important role and to shape up that segment in Turkey and also in the region.
Thank you very much, Abdullah Bey. Thank you. Moving on to Mehmet Ali Bey again, taking into account Onur Bey's and Abdullah Bey's contributions around the opportunities in Turkey. I think the audience, it would be important for the guests to hear from you what you see as exciting opportunities in Turkey, taking into account all these developments, sustainability, ESG, decarbonization, and of course, as a group, you're doing a lot around many of these, sub-segments, I would say, in the energy market. Do you believe that ESG and sustainability, which were previously considered as nice to haves, are now crucial, and how the business will be conducted going forward?
Yeah, thank you. If I start from your last question and adding on to what Abdullah Bey said about the returns of the companies which are more ESG focused, I also read that in a recent article that there was a positive alpha of those companies in terms of returns. So it's not only from an investor perspective regarding the returns, but for Turkish companies who are consumers of power in Turkey will have to abide with some of the new rules and laws that are being adopted in the Western countries. As a very recent anecdote, I was talking to a mid-sized Turkish textile company, and they were mentioning about their need to be supplying their electricity in the medium term from renewable sources, and I think that's that's an interesting subject and an investment opportunity for Turkish entrepreneurs and, of course, existing energy companies to increase the investments into solar and rooftop solar and integrated solutions for companies that involve gas turbines and solar projects, even for small to mid-sized companies who will supply their energy from those. We think, on the other hand, the energy efficiency law and its recently announced regulations are also going to be a very important growth factor for the Turkish market. We are concentrated on that as global. We operate, I think, the largest ESCO energy service company in Turkey, and we see that as an opportunity for the coming years. So ESG is very important. Is a very important factor to be taken into account for the coming years. In terms of other opportunities or how we're going to position ourselves in the market and how we see our growth in the market, if I separate our activities into natural gas and energy generation and efficiency.
Oops. We lost you, Mehmet Ali Bey. So, Onur Bey, again, I mean, a similar question, because I think, as I said, our guests would be interested. You have already touched upon the positive facts for investing in Turkey by foreign investors. But of course, it would be great if we can hear more around your expectations for 2021, rest of 2021, but mainly 2022, I would say, and what the opportunities are, whether these new developments in the market and globally would have an impact on which segments of the energy sector would attract more investment, like it is renewable solar. There's a lot of government plan, of course, in terms of, I mean, long-term, short-term government plans as well, focusing on several specific sectors. What are your expectations, and I mean, how would you define the market for foreign investors going forward?
Sure, thank you very much, Tranum. If I may, let me start with what is recently happening in 2021 for the buyers and sellers in the market, and what would be the opportunities in the coming years, especially starting from 2022. So, as we all know, the feed-in tariff scheme is just about to be end by the end of June, if there is no more extension. So there were some risky development assets available in the market for the buyers, which were, having difficulties to reach commercial operations. So recently we have seen these transactions happening. So investors who are willing to take risk and in return can benefit from the previous version of the feed-in tariff, which was dollar denominated in Turkey. So actually those transactions were pretty attractive for the buyers. And on top of that, there were distressed assets, which were owned by the companies who had several businesses in different markets, and due to their difficulties in other markets, their renewable energy assets became targets, and they were actually in the market available for the potential buyers. So we have seen, even though limited transactions, we have seen recent transactions in the renewable energy market in 2021 so far. So for the sellers, actually, I would like to differentiate the operational assets and greenfields for the potential buyers for 2021, for 2022, and so on. So as actually Abdullah Bey mentioned, the operational assets with a good life of feed-in tariff, and for investors, which is approximately 8 to 7 years minimum feed-in tariff left, is a good opportunity for the potential buyers. So sellers are significantly considering to sell their assets with such terms of feed-in tariff, and I strongly believe that we keep seeing such transactions happening for the rest of 2021 and 2022. The very recent investments of Turkish and foreign investors in Turkey will become targets with those feed-in tariff terms and conditions, I would say. And obviously, sellers will be looking for some, predictable income, and unfortunately, this new feed-in tariff scheme doesn't provide that after the adjustment scheme to the feed-in tariff pricing. Even though the appreciation, depreciation in foreign currencies are already adjusted in the calculation methodologies, this can somehow go up and down. It's not only the side up. So this creates an uncertainty. And that uncertainty obviously affects the financing along with the country risk of Turkey for the investors. However, as Abdullah Bey also mentioned, the companies with strong equity structure and companies with have an easy access to financing of any kind, and also companies who will be, certainly who will be directly involved with decarbonization, like industries with export in Europe, will be the companies who will be mostly trading in the renewable energy projects in the coming years, I would expect. So because this new scheme, unfortunately, will make the all financing market for renewable energy projects very difficult, and those small players and players with less strong equity structure won't be able to easily transact in this scheme. However, as we already discussed, in Europe there is almost no support scheme, so it's mostly the merchants, and which actually pushes the investors through either to consider merchant risks or consider private PPAs in the countries. I'm sure that Turkish renewable energy market will also adjust in such way. So we will learn that we will be, even though we are at the beginning of the learning curve, I'm sure our market will adjust very quickly. So starting from 2022, we will learn how to deal with the new support scheme, plus how we can consider alternative contract structures like PPAs in Turkey.
Thank you. I mean, this is very, very helpful to give an idea to our guests here joining us. Mehmet Ali Bey, we lost you
Yes,
for a few minutes. Unfortunately, I mean, it would have been great if we were face to face, but I think we got accustomed to this type of webinars, seminars. So apologies for the misconnection. You are about to, wrap up around what you expect to see in the market, and on top of what Onur Bey has just stated in terms of expectations, because I think, as I said, the collaboration between the regulator and the investors has played a significant role previously in Turkey in the energy market in terms of how the market evolved and passed through a bumpy period. But of course, with the collaboration, there were new developments. Do you expect to see such sorts of developments to adjust the market properly and still attract investments in that market? Because there's a huge need in Turkey and it's ongoing. That's why I think, we should expect something, but it would be good to hear from you as market players around your expectations.
Okay. One of the points that was an important factor in the Turkish market was the regulators and were really much more lenient to listen to the investors. But I think, as mentioned also previously, the new VECTEM scheme is really has killed some part of new capex in some parts of the energy space, and biomass being the most important one of that. Although not the biggest, we are one of the significant investors in biomass, and we had a significant development portfolio we were going to invest about 100 megawatts into new capacity in biomass, but the new scheme doesn't allow that, unfortunately. So we have had to cancel those. So although we had some consultations with the regulators regarding the need to give a special rate to biomass due to the size of the plants, as well as their importance for the environment and the general economy of the farmers. Unfortunately, the biomass side has not seen a special treatment. But I think when more and more investors like us go back to the regulator and tell about that, there may be a new scheme that could still attract investments, because biomass has also been, although a niche part of the sector, it has seen a lot of investments in the past. So the new YEKDEM, of course, has made our investments more valuable. But our investment appetite into biomass was really high until the announcement of the new YEKDEM. So I think going forward, the regulator and the government is going to still hear feedback from investors like us, and in the lack of foreign investments into Turkey. And the feedback that they also get from the investors in the energy space should also streamline the needs of the energy investors and what the government can provide in terms of support mechanisms or regulatory mechanisms. So we are hopeful, and we are really looking forward to investing more into the energy space when we find feasible projects.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think, I mean, as you have all stated, there is the energy consumption in Turkey when compared to Europe, it's increasing significantly. The market still has opportunities. There are a few adjustments that the market has to go through, but Turkey has been successful in achieving those in the past. And as a growing country, we all expect, I think as market players, you also expect certain developments in the market to make it a more attractive investment environment for the newcomers. So I think what we understood is we will see more consolidation, we will see newcomers, we will see an impact on ESG and decarbonization. So all those would play a significant role in the energy M&A market. And Mehmet Ali Bey, I think, I mean, you're expecting more IPOs, I guess, as, I mean, you have made it clear that out of only 6 companies, the fundraise was much higher than expected in terms of the ratio of the entire 29 companies being IPO'd.
I think even Zorlu is going to float there. Zorlu Yenilenebilir Enerji, as far as I know, if they haven't given up.
No comments. So yeah, I mean, so equity financing is critical. I mentioned at the beginning. So to continue our investments, obviously we need to look at our portfolio more opportunistic, I can say. Maybe IPO market is an important financing field. So it's open. I mean, this is an open question. I don't want to comment, but yeah, I mean, obviously everybody is considering this field.
Thank you for the candid response. So I think this should conclude our session. Thanks to all panelists who have shared their views and expectations openly. And thanks to all our guests for participating. We hope to see you again next time, hopefully in person. And we hope that this session has been beneficial to all participants and you have enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you.